10 plagues that we begin reading this week have always bothered me. Think about it. If God's ultimate goal was to redeem the Israelites, why not simply free them without inflicting any suffering on the Egyptians? Or if punishment was necessary for their centuries of enslavement, wouldn't a few plagues have been enough? Why 10? To be honest, it just seemed harsh, almost vindictive. But then came October 7th, and it suddenly all began to make sense. On that day, Hamas unleashed unimaginable atrocities on innocent Israelis. Brutal acts of violence, including murder and rape, and then the kidnapping of 250 people into Gaza. Women, children, the elderly were targeted without mercy. The sheer cruelty of their actions left Israel no choice but to respond with overwhelming force. Israel had to respond by demonstrating that it was a sleeping giant, and once awakened, it would stop at nothing to ensure that such atrocities could never happen again. For months, the IDF carried out relentless operations, neutralizing tens of thousands of Hamas and Hezbollah terrorists. And yet, even after these successes, the enemy refused to back down. Thus, the IDF and the Mossad proceeded to deal a series of blows that were no less devastating than the plagues that God inflicted upon the Egyptians. Chief among them were, of course, the brilliantly planned and executed attack on the handheld pagers and the walkie-talkies that simultaneously killed dozens of Hezbollah terrorists and injured another 1,500. And then the elimination of virtually all the Hezbollah and Hamas military and political leadership, capped by the assassination of the mastermind of October 7th massacre, Yahya Sinwar. It was these attacks, along with the persistent and heroic efforts of the IDF throughout the region, which pushed Hamas into a corner and forced them into a deal to release our hostages in return for a ceasefire. Nevertheless, there's no doubt in anyone's mind that Hamas would use this ceasefire to rearm and regroup for its next assault on Israel. Thus, we have to come to terms with the necessity of resuming our military campaign against Hamas after they release our hostages, and of inflicting upon them one blow after another until they can no longer pose a threat. All this is reminiscent of Pharaoh, who, after seeing relief at the end of each plague, hardened his heart and seized the opportunity to continue and oppress the Israelites. This also helps explain why God had no choice but to continue inflicting plague after plague on Pharaoh and the Egyptians until they would finally agree to let the Israelites go, and then later meet their own fate in the waters of the Sea of Reeds. Thus, October 7th taught me, and should teach all of us, a sad and unfortunate truth. Sometimes there are people so cruel and vicious, and so persistent in their desire to oppress and kill others, no matter what the cost, that the only solution is a series of plagues to destroy them and to wipe them off the face of the earth. If this video resonated with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Shabbat Shalom.